On the outfit from Lil Wayne. What you got on today? What you got on?
This shit when I hear, this good motion, the only motion.
Today, in this video, I will be talking about trauma, the different stages of trauma, where trauma is stored in the body, and different ways to help and cope with your trauma in the most helpful way possible. I'll be giving you examples and telling you fun facts and specific facts that you might need to know or you might need to look inside yourself and consider and help you cope and live better with your trauma or heal your trauma in a way. So first thing I want to talk about is, what is trauma? Why do people have it? Why do we experience it? And what is the true definition of trauma? Okay, so what is the true definition of trauma? And trauma is basically just when you experience a stressful or frightening event that is very difficult to overcome or it is out of your control. This could be like outgoing events that happen over a long period of time. Most of us experience events that have been considered traumatic in a way. So that's like a person, an object, or just a simple moment could become trauma and you wouldn't know it until you actually would sit down with yourself and realize, okay, this is what I see as trauma. And some people really don't sit down with themselves and notice, hey, this is trauma, until they really start to pay attention to how they feel and they realize this is this and this is that. So trauma really isn't a bad thing. It's just how our body and our mind recognizes what is going on or tries to see why we feel a certain type of way. Now I'm going to speak on the 3 different types of trauma. These 3 different types of traumas are what most psychiatrists or therapists would call your situation or your trauma and put these in these type 3 categories that I'm finna go over right now. First trauma I'm going to talk about is basically acute trauma. And all acute trauma is basically one singular event in your life that caused you trauma. So the second one I would like to talk about is chronic trauma, which is basically trauma that has been repeated or prolonged, such as domestic violence or abuse. The third one that I'd like to speak on is complex trauma. Complex trauma is basically just an exposure to various and multiple traumatic events, often of an invasive, interpersonal nature. That's all complex trauma is. In my personal research that I have done, it basically sounds the same as chronic, but at a more higher level, like occurrence of chronic trauma. Now, I would like to talk about some ways that you can release and help yourself release trauma that can be stored in your body and your mind. First way I would like to talk about is therapy. Therapy is very self-explanatory. Therapy is basically where you go and talk to somebody. Me personally, through my years of healing and dealing with my own trauma, my family suggested I go to therapy, but I never really was that type of person that wanted to go to therapy. I just felt like if I sat down and just learned what these things were that caused me to feel this feeling or emotion, and I understand my feelings and I talked myself through it, I never felt like I needed to go to therapy. If I liked psychology a lot, so when I learned psychology, I basically just used psychology to understand myself and humans as a, as a human being on earth, because this is all a human being experience. I was like, I don't really want another human to tell me the same thing I could tell myself and spend that much amount of money. But one way that can help you is going to therapy, yes. The second thing I have researched and found from my own personal research that has helped has been yoga. Yoga, you could basically do it at home or you could do it in an environment. You could do it outside. Yoga can be done anywhere in a peaceful, I recommend a peaceful environment. So I would wake up in the morning and I'll get out of bed and the first thing I do is yoga. It helps me relieve any stress in my body and it helps me feel more loose, and it also helps me, when I feel a traumatic experience happening and I feel my body act a certain type of way, I can do yoga and it releases that stress and it helps me figure out why, okay, hey, this put stress to my body, and it just is a good outlet to help with that trauma or that traumatic event. The third technique that I've researched and I have used in my time of healing has been breath work. Breath work is just a way to calm yourself down and calm your body down, and for you just to get to a state of thinking clearly, because when you experience something traumatic, your mind can't think properly. It goes into fight or flight mode, so it really doesn't know how to respond to anything or to respond or react to anything, or give a proper communication to your body of how it should move through this event. So breathwork is one good way I would say that could help you. With me, my personal techniques is I do 3 deep breaths in, and I hold it for a couple of seconds and I let it out, and then I would do that until you feel your body just feel relaxed and you can calm down and you can understand yourself and see why and what made you feel that type of reaction. The third thing I have researched and have done my personal discovery on is understanding your feelings, which is basically simple. It's basically just taking time and literally listening to yourself, listening to your body. How does your body feel? Learning your emotions, just understanding what and how your body feels and the emotions that it's feeling and why it's reacting to the things that it's reacting to. So when you feel yourself, or when you know that you're going through a traumatic event, you should feel in your body and know your feelings to know, hey, I'm going through something. This is a traumatic event. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling this way? What can I do to help myself feel better? And just learn how to just heal from that event and just try to do better and figure out a way to heal from that. You might have to do some talking, or you might have to talk to some people. You might have to talk to yourself. You might have to do research. You might have to, one way, like I said earlier, is go to therapy. It's different ways that you could really help with this. And one of my biggest things that I would really say that helped me was learning myself and learning my emotions and my feelings, because if I feel myself feeling a certain type of way and I don't really know why I feel that certain type of way, I get a certain feeling that knows, okay, this is from this event, or this is this, or this is that, and I can understand, okay, hey, I'm feeling emotion from a traumatic event. I know how to already deal with this because I've dealt with this before. So you kind of just give yourself the blueprint by listening to yourself and listening to how you feel and acknowledging your feelings. Yes. A lot of people do not acknowledge their feelings. A lot of people that grew up in households that didn't acknowledge them as a kid, they feel as when they get older as adults that their feelings don't matter. And, I've grown up in an environment like that. And, as you get older, it's kind of hard. It is, don't get me wrong. It's kind of hard. But if you really want to be a different person, be somebody in life, you have to heal past those things, because they just don't go away. The harder you try to, bury them, the more darker and deeper they get. And when they come up to the light, you wouldn't really know how to cope with them or deal with them, because it's such a hard thing that you never got to help yourself through. So even if your parents didn't acknowledge you, or you didn't get that acknowledgement that you needed, you still have time to acknowledge yourself, which is the most important thing. So always acknowledge your feelings. My fifth research and my fifth discovery that I would like to speak on is meditation. I was introduced to meditation at 19. I am 21 now, and I would say meditation has helped me greatly through the past 2 years of my life. It has changed me as a person, and it has had a big influence on my life, I would really suggest meditation to people that, you know, if you can sit down for at least 5 minutes a day. I used to be able to do 5 minutes, you know. I could do like 15, 20 minutes now, but meditation does help. It helps you stay present, helps calm you down, helps you relax, and it just helps with that any experience that you feel. If you are experiencing like sadness or depression, or you know, just a at the moment feeling, meditation can help, you know. Like I do meditation to start the mood off for the day, so my mood really doesn't get affected easily when I start the mood off with meditation. It's kind of like a relaxer. It's kind of like a good way to calm you down during the day. But I would strongly suggest meditation if you are going through a traumatic experience. Yes, strongly recommend. The sixth one I would like to talk about is self-care, and all these outlets or ways to deal with traumatic events or experiences are personal or things that I have done too. So I'm not going to suggest something that I haven't put myself through, that I haven't physically experienced myself. But I experienced a traumatic event, and I didn't know it was a traumatic event for a good 6 months of my life. And once I became aware that I was, you know, I had a traumatic event that just was on replay in my head, you know, I started doing those things that I am now talking to you guys about. And, you know, the biggest one that helped me the most was self-care. And like, I was doing things I never really done before, you know, like I was taking myself out to eat alone. I was just taking care of myself. I was just doing things for me, and I was just finding happiness and just being able to show up for myself, you know. And sometimes that's what you really need. Like, if somebody can't show up for you, always show up for self, because self will take you wherever you go, you know. It's a saying I have: you come in this world alone, you die alone. So you should always take care of self, always love self, and just always do what you can for self. So self-care is one thing I've done. Taking myself out to eat, buying things, you know, certain things for pleasure, you know, like new shoes, or I might go, you know, go get a haircut, or, you know, just doing things that make me feel better and release that stress out my life. And the last one I would like to talk about is exercise. Me personally, exercising is just a stress reliever naturally for your body, and it has benefits, you know. You're mad about something, you go work out, you build your body, you build your strength, and, you know, you build your body, you build your strength, and it helps you get over that thing. But, you know, I rather, when I did my research on it and it said exercise, I feel like there should be more to it than you just exercise. I feel like you should, you should do your exercise, but if you're gonna exercise, you should do more with it. Like, journal after you work out, or journal before or after you work out, or, you know, breath work. Or how I used to do it is, when I used to wake up and I was going through my healing process, one of my healing processes, excuse me, I would start my morning off with meditation, then I would go into yoga, then I would work out, then I would journal. And that would literally set the vibe for the day. I would really feel really good. Like, nothing could bother me. Nothing. I fasted for like 3 days, and I don't weigh a lot. Like, I think I weigh probably about 135, and I fasted for 3 days. And just with those 3 things, like, I felt really good except for the 3rd day. But, you know, that was my first time ever fasting. And that doesn't have anything to do with a traumatic event. But I'm still saying that those three things from my personal experience, from my routine, has helped when I was going over a bad breakup. That was a very traumatic event for me. And meditation journaling, self-care, yoga. I was basically my own therapist, and breath work really brought me back to the person I am now, which is a good person. You know, I made a deal with myself I would be a good person. So those things really, and I could speak, have really changed and healed me through those traumatic experiences. And last thing I want to speak on before I miss it is these are some type of questions that I wrote down that I asked myself that I suggest that you guys should ask yourself when you want to check in with yourself or understand yourself more. How did you sleep? Or ask yourself, how well am I sleeping? How does your body feel physically? Or ask yourself, how is my body how does my body feel physically? How are you handling difficult situations? Pay attention to how you're handling situations. Are you handling it in a positive way, or are you handling them in a negative way? Sometimes if you ask yourself that, you could see where you are going. What is my overall mood, or what has my overall mood been? You should already know how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis. Are you sad? Are you happy? Are you frustrated? Those are questions you should ask yourself. What are symptoms that I had before that are still bothering me? So what are basically things that I had from my past, from my traumatic experience that are still bothering me? Sometimes you think you're over something, but symptoms still linger. Like if you still got a cold and you're almost over the cold, some symptoms still linger. So it's kind of just like that. And my last one that I tell myself is, what things are not going well right now? So it's basically, sometimes it's life. Everything can't be perfect. But if you can pay attention to the things that are not going well, maybe you could fix them, or more than maybe, you could heal them and fix them so those things can go well and you have more of a better experience. All right, and now I want to talk about some places that trauma may show up in the body. So, when you experience something traumatic, your body will go into fight or flight mode. So, say if you encounter a person and your body sees that person as a threat, it's going to release hormones that might tense up in your body, or might overwhelm you, or overwhelm your nervous system. So sometimes your sleep schedule might be disturbed. You might have back pain. You might have a neurological disorder. You might have a respiratory distress. It's many places and many things that trauma can be stored in your body. But the next thing I want to talk about is what happens when you have trauma release from doing these things. Well, you would know that you have trauma in the body when your body feels, certain parts of your body feel tense. And after you finish releasing that trauma, that you will feel more mentally, physically, and cohesively and a pressure has been released out of your body. And that's how you should know that trauma or a traumatic event has been released from body, because sometimes we don't know trauma has been stored in us. It can be stored from more places than just our head. Next thing I'm going to talk about is the benefits of releasing this trauma from your body. When you release these trauma through your body, you're just address the physical symptoms, the chronic tension, and the pain. You might have, or not might, you will have reduced emotional reaction or reactivity. You might have improved sleep. You will foster to it's called post-traumatic growth. So basically, you will know how to deal with trauma better now, since you know how to experience it now. It basically just brings a sense of renewal and appreciation to life and one's relationship with self. So releasing trauma from the body does make you feel good. You look better because you don't look so stressed and you don't look like so much is on you. And when you feel good, you look good. So releasing trauma from the body can help you and more benefits than just the internal. It also can help through the external. And the last two things I'm going to end this video with are, what is trauma bonding and what is trauma dumping? First one I want to talk about is trauma bonding. Trauma bonding is basically when you and another person have a relationship. Could be casual friends, or a partner, and that basically the whole relationship is built off of trauma, and not a lot of healing. It's just a bunch of you guys having trauma all the time, and y'all just talk about trauma and y'all bond from the trauma. So which is not a good thing to have. Trauma bonding, some people might not know the trauma bonding, but trauma bonding should not be a good thing if you want a healthy relationship. So I want to talk about some ways that can help fix a relationship and stop more people from trauma bonding. So some ways that you can stop trauma bonding. First, if some people don't know they're trauma bonding, so first thing I would like to tell you is always educate yourself. Always educate yourself. Always focus on the here and now. So, most trauma is from the past. So if you focus on the present, not the future or the past, that helps to create some space. Sometimes being trauma bonded takes a lot on your body. So always take space to take time for self. Practice more self-care and better self-care. Develop a healthy relationship with these things that you will. Always give yourself permission to heal. Always, always, always. The main goal with these videos is for you guys to want to heal and be better people, and so we could change the world as a person. Yeah. And always make future plans to do something healthy, something that can heal your trauma. So if you guys have a bond together, maybe going to a football game or going to a basketball game can help heal you guys' trauma together. And the last but not least thing I want to talk on is my least favorite thing that I see occur a lot. Not just it occurs. It's trauma dumping. I've experienced firsthand what trauma dumping is. It's basically like just, I feel as well, first off, what is trauma dumping? My definition from my personal experience, I will not tell you anything that's not from me, a personal experience. I've talked to, I've had relationships with women before, or friends, and they tell me about an experience they have. It was traumatic. And then tell me about another one, and then they tell me about another one, and then tell me about another one, and then they tell me about another one. And I'm always a nice person, so I'll listen to you. But when you dump trauma like that onto somebody else, and they actually are a good person, they could feel it too. So trauma dumping is something I really don't put up with, but some people, like, if I could tell that they've been somewhere and they're not really in a good place, then yeah, I'll listen. But I do not recommend being trauma dumped. Like, if somebody that you know is constantly trauma dumping you and like making it like being toxic with the trauma dumping, please make space from that person. Educate yourself more on people, more on why is trauma dumping a thing. I want to know, I'm probably going to do my own research on the psychology of it, but trauma dumping is just something that, I really don't have a problem with it, but it's just once after a long time of dealing with it, you're kind of like, okay, this person might need to heal, and that's okay. Some people do need to heal. If you're being trauma dumped, I suggest that you might want to take time away from that person, or tell them, hey, I don't like being trauma dumped, and, you know, educate yourself more and try to see why that person is dumping all that trauma onto you. Because when some people feel safe, they dump trauma onto you. That isn't a good thing all the time. Sometimes that is, but for the most part, I do not deal with trauma dumping. So most people should deal with their own problems themselves. That is everything that I wanted to speak about in this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for giving me the time of your day. I hope the information that I have implied on you guys or have given you guys will help you in life and will help you better yourself as a person or better the people around you. And I am beyond grateful for you guys just to even listen to me or give me your time of the day. I hope everybody has a blessed day. I hope everybody has a blessed life. Yeah, and let's continue to be great.
Saw the outfit from a little away. What you got on today? What you got on?
This is a brand shirt. You know, this good motion, the only motion.